Good morning. I'm going to have an unusual interview with Naftali Bennett, a presumptive candidate for Prime Minister of Israel. If the Israelis are lucky, they'll have elections sooner than October 26, 2026. Otherwise, they're going to be saddled with Bibi. And if they get Bennett, I'm not so sure they're not going to get someone who's Netanyahu lite. So let's listen to my attempted interview with Bennett, where I asked him, does he prefer annexation or a two-state solution? Tell me, are you for annexation?
I am for Am Israel and Eretz Israel, and I want to support everyone here.
As you just heard, he wouldn't answer my question when I asked him, would he support annexation or a two-state solution? He kind of waffled. And let's hear more of Bennett's review of affairs in Israel today as he responded to questions asked by the American Technion Society audience.
We have a crazy situation in Israel. It's just mind-boggling, where a growing percentage of Israelis are exempt from military service. The men are exempt from working and paying taxes, but they're in government telling us and sending us to Gaza and sending us and deciding on us. Now, I love my Haredi brothers and sisters, and I think Torah, the study of Torah, is important for Am Israel. It's what kept us Jewish for thousands of years. But that's not what this is about. Because in Jewish history, in our own history, there's never been a precedent for this sort of thing, never. All of our heroes worked. All of our heroes, in the relevant years, fought. Abraham was a very successful businessman and fighter. Joshua was a fighter. Gideon was a fighter. King David was a fighter. All of our rabbis worked. Maimonides was a doctor. Rashi was at a winery. Rabbi Yochanan was a cobbler. There's no precedent, and nothing in the Torah says that you should not work. In fact, the opposite. The Judaism, when you think deeply about Judaism, it's unique in that it's called the Torah Chaim, the Torah of life, the religion of life. Judaism is not about separating those holy people and then you go do your day-to-day things. No, Judaism looks 360 degrees and it talks about how you inject into life your Jewish ideals. We don't have people who seclude themselves in mountains. We don't have monasteries. Rabbis get married and have kids. Because the Torah and it says that you have to live. So how can it be that when we have a Jewish state, suddenly we're doing this crazy thing? How will we go about it? What we need to do, sequentially, win the elections, form a national Zionist coalition, national unity coalition, left and right, religious and secular. Tell our brothers and sisters, the Haredim, we will no longer fund this way of life even with 1 shekel, but we embrace you and we're going to create on-board ramps to make it easier for you to join Tzahal, to join military service, and to get education and to get a good job, which is not the case today. I'll give you one example. We have very long borders right now. We always had the long borders, but now we understand that we need a lot of soldiers there. Right now, as we speak, right, it's 8:30 p.m. New York time. Right now, in the Jordan Valley, there's a 32 years old guy who's an engineer in NVIDIA, and he's guarding. Why does he have to do that? Couldn't a healthy 18-year-old Haredi do that? Why don't we set 10 Hesder yeshivas for Haredim along the border of Egypt and Jordan? Why don't they study 8 hours of Torah, guard 8 hours, and have 8 hours of sleep? We could be so creative. So this is going to happen. This is critical. This is the very last moment. We got to do it. We got to do it now.
The audience questioned Bennett on the draft law. The draft law is dividing Israel because in today's politics, if you're Orthodox, you may serve. But if you are ultra-Orthodox and you're in the Messianic movement that maintains Netanyahu's popularity and support in the Knesset, they don't serve at all. And yet they've got these grand plans for invasion of Gaza. And who's going to do that? The kids who are in their 40s? They're losing their families. They're losing their lives. They've got kids, and you've got 18-year-olds, 68,000 of them. Well, Bennett's offering them an off-ramp if he were elected prime minister. He's saying they can do border patrol and they can do other services to the Israeli government. They can get better jobs and they can still work 8 hours a day studying Torah. In the history of the Jewish people, nobody escaped being in battle. Didn't matter how high up you were in studying Torah, you worked. You worked where you fought. Maimonides, not only was he a great teacher, but he was a great physician as well. So I don't see that Bennett is providing the answer to the country. He is providing a compromise for the ultra-Orthodox who refuse to serve and the Messianic movement that supports Netanyahu. To me, it was disappointing.
Humanitarian situation and state of Israel's response, really what is a plan that we would formulate?
Short answer.
Well, first of all, obviously there's no policy of starvation, nor is there a mass starvation going on in Gaza. There is food insecurity, that's clear. And Israel is working really hard to allow all food in. The problem is within Gaza, Hamas is deliberately sabotaging the flow of food to the people. And so now, do I think Israel is managing the whole Gaza war competently? No, I don't think. I think we should not have dragged this on so long. Israel should not conduct long, protracted wars. But I don't want to go into micro tactics and how we should go about it. I will say that the key is to create a structure where you differentiate between Hamas and the people. There are ways to do it. At this point, though, to the best of my analysis, Hamas doesn't want to deal. And what we're going to need to do is take action to recreate leverage on Hamas. What the international community is doing with their bleeding hearts is drastically reducing the chances to reach a deal, because when schmucks from France and the UK, listen to this brilliant idea. If you don't, they say to Israel, if there's no ceasefire, we're going to punish you A, B, C, and D. Now guess what? You need two sides for a ceasefire. So Hamas says, fine, this is great. We lay back, we don't do a deal, we're going to get tons of food, and Israel's going to get punished. Like, how crazy is that? So But notwithstanding, we have to get our act together here and wrap it up much more rapidly. This is not the way Israel should conduct wars. We need short, high-intensity wars, not long, protracted ones.
Then it was just asked the question that's on all of our minds, Gaza and the starvation. Well, as you heard, according to Bennett, there's food insecurity and everyone else is at fault, not Israel. And Hamas obviously doesn't want to make a deal. But that's not really true. If you flood the Gaza zone with food and you didn't have people going into narrow channels to pick up that food, Hamas would not be in control. With this piece of information from Bennett, we entirely disagree. I don't blame the rest of the world for looking at Israel and saying Israel is starving the people, which Bennett is denying. If it's not true and there's only food insufficiency, let all the foreign press in. And if you haven't cornered Hamas yet, guess what? You're not going to corner them. It ain't happening. You might be able to separate the people from Hamas, but only with an international force that imposes civil unity in the Strip. You can't have anarchy and expect to win. And having more military forays into Gaza is just going to result, unfortunately, in the death of both sides, the Israelis and the Palestinians. I don't think that's what we want. We want negotiations. They say they need food. Flood the zone with food. The protests don't work. Nothing works to stop Netanyahu and his campaign. He's right now willing to have his latest head of the IDF resign. I don't see him firing him, but he does want him to resign. So these are events that are unfolding now. We're living history as I speak. But Bennett, to denigrate everyone and not look inward at Israel's part in this problem, that's a mistake. They are playing into Hamas's hands by continuing the suffering of the Gazans.
Coalition government should be diverse, left and right, religious and secular, but it can only include Zionist parties. That's a lesson learned, and so only Zionist parties. That said, I will, as Prime Minister, continue to take care of every citizen in Israel, regardless whether they're Jewish, Druze, Arab, Muslim, Christian, because Israel does that, and that's our job. I think in the long term, our approach to the Arab sector, which is a significant, almost 20% of our population, we need to embrace the majority that wants to be part and parcel of the Jewish state, while recognizing it's the nation state of the Jewish people, and bring them into society, bring them into high tech, give them better education. We need to be very tough on anyone who wants to undermine Israel as a Jewish state, and that does exist. I wish I could say, all Israeli Arabs want to be part and parcel of Israel. That is not the case. There is a group. I can't size it, but we have to be really tough on any element of terror or that sort of thing. I'm optimistic on the Arab sector. Throughout the war, the Israeli domestic Arabs showed no, lots of people were afraid they were going to join, the multi-front war. They didn't. We see modernization within the Arab sector. More women are going out to work. So the trends are good, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Well, the last question that was asked of Bennett is, what would he do if he were prime minister? What kind of ticket would he run on? And how would he treat the minority population in Israel, which is 20%? By answering the question right now, he actually answered my first question about does he believe in annexation? And it looks to me that yes, he does. A one-state solution. A one-state solution where only Zionist parties vote and the minorities, though they may be treated well, they are a second-class citizen. That's not what I would do. That's not what Golan would do. We advocate for a two-state solution. We acknowledge that there are a large Arab population in Gaza and also in the West Bank. We acknowledge that people are people and need to be treated humanely. There are terrorists on both sides. As far as I'm concerned, the Messianic group supporting Netanyahu, they're not good people. Hamas and whoever's supporting Hamas, they're even worse people. I don't want them to get ahead, either side. But decent people, you bet, because in the melting pot of America, where we all get along and we exchange ideas, that's the best way to go, because everyone participates. And in the Technion itself, they have about 20 to 25% of their student body is Arabs. Arabs from Israel and all over the Middle East. I supported a remedial education program where modern Orthodox kids could learn how to become experts in the STEM subjects and matriculate into Israel's Technion. Why do I support Technion? It is a brilliant organization. It supports science. It's Israel's answer to MIT. It's got a medical school, and my friends went to the medical school and taught in the medical school. And it has at least 8 Nobel Prize winners. The spirit of Technion should be the spirit of Israel. My humble opinion, my 2 cents. Thank you for listening.